Hello, football fans. Welcome to Helmet, joined by my constant co-host Deuce. I am Stokes. How's it going, Deuce? How you been? This is something we've been excited to do. We're going to be covering all things football all the time. We've been had this in the works for a while, but now finally get it out there.
Yeah, we've been talking about this since we were in Buffalo together,
Yeah,
man. We
yeah,
always were just joking about like, man, bro, we need a podcast. We need a
yeah,
podcast. Finally got the stuff we need to do it and just started to roll with it this year.
yeah.
Get off for the football season,
Right.
ready to go.
Yeah, I'm excited to get this thing going. Deuce, for those who don't know you, why don't you give the listeners a little introduction? Who are you? Your football background? What fans? What team you like? Everything about you.
Yeah, so Bills fan, grew up in Webster, New York, with you. Obviously, went to high school together,
Yeah.
everything. Um, Went to college in Buffalo, so got to see a couple games and stuff like that. But I am a, I wouldn't really want to call myself like a influencer. I like to say like I'd rather be a just like a real football coach. Like I just want to. My main focus is to get people to know stuff quicker. So I want people to not go to college and be like, "Oh, I didn't know this. I didn't know that." I want you to get the knowledge and like top tier knowledge in high school to be able to ball out and be able to get recruited well. So
Mhm.
I do that. I do obviously have a substantial following on Instagram and TikTok, but mainly like I'm just trying to get people better, whether that is in person or virtually.
Nice, nice. For those who don't know me, I also we're Deuce and I are both from Rochester, New York, upstate New York. We've lived here most of our whole lives. Deuce actually just relocated out to Texas. I'm a big Miami Dolphins fan. Played a little football growing up. Wasn't really terribly great, but nonetheless, I've been a huge Dolphins fan my whole life. Been waiting 24, almost 25 years now to hopefully see a Super Bowl. But we're who knows? I think this year they look pretty good. So um, first thing, today we're recording this Friday, Saturday actually, September 9th, 2 days after the Thursday night season opener. Deuce, Lions got the win. Very surprising to me. What were your initial thoughts?
Um, I did pick the Lions to win, but
No
obviously
shot.
I'm not
You
I'm
did
not a big
not
Chief.
pick.
I did. I'm not a big Chiefs fan, so
Yeah.
like I always do root against them.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't think the Lions were I didn't thought they were gonna win, and I thought that's how they're gonna win, like 2, 3 point game. I didn't think the Lions were gonna go in there and like blow them out,
Yeah.
but they ran the ball. I was surprised that without Chris Jones, I don't want to say they did great, but they definitely did better than people
Yeah.
expected.
Yeah.
Um, Also with that, the Lions do complement their run game with the play action. I do think they were very successful on the play action last night,
Mhm.
and I do like the 1-2 punch from Dave Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs. Jameer Gibbs can run the ball.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep going.
Yeah, Gibbs didn't get a ton of snaps, but offensive coordinator Ben Johnson said that it was expected they wanted to get him into the flow of the NFL before giving him a ton of snaps. I think later in the year he's going to be more of a workhorse, but I was very surprised personally. The two things that stood out to me, I still thought Mahomes played very well. I thought second half he started forcing some things that was uncharacteristic of him, but the Chiefs receiving core, man, I mean, my God, they were horrible. Nobody could catch anything. Nobody was open. Everything was going to tight ends or running backs. Kadarius Tony, don't even want to get into that. He
He's on
was
your fantasy team.
horrible. Oh yeah, I started him too. I had figured without Travis Kelsey, I thought, Sky Moore, Kadarius Tony, guys like that were going to have big games. Neither of them was seen, and I don't think Travis Kelsey's injury is going to be a long-term thing, but I do think it's something to really look out for the Chiefs this year are sort of weapons issues. For those of you who know me, I'm a huge believer that successful weapons make successful teams. Chiefs have never really had great weapons since Tyreek Hill got traded. I think it's something to look out for.
Yeah, another thing that I will say is I feel like the Chiefs in short yard situations did not want to run the ball at all. Like I feel like they were always trying. Like they did the trick play.
Hmm.
I think they did another one like an end around,
Yeah.
but like they just did not want to run the ball between the tackles on like 3rd and 2, third
Yeah.
and three. Like it was always a
Yeah.
pass. And I I didn't look at the film too much, but I feel like the boxes were pretty open. Like
Yeah.
it was pretty light boxes, but they were just daring them to throw. And
Yeah.
obviously, if you have the best player in the league, like
Yeah. It's
put it
hard
in
to
his
take the ball
hands.
out of his hands.
Yeah, it's hard to take the ball out of his hands. But I just thought that they didn't really establish a run game either. Mahomes had the most rushing yards at 45
Yeah.
yards and
Yeah.
had what 6 attempts, and Pacheco had 8 for 21.
Hmm.
Like so, they really didn't have any sort of run game going, which I think I don't think they need like obviously someone that runs 100 yards a game, but I
Yeah.
think they
Need a
need
little more
someone
than
to
that.
rush more than Mahomes.
Right. Right. Yeah. Another thing that stood out to me, I thought Andy Reid called a really conservative game. I think there were 3 times where they had fourth down and less than 4 that he either punted or took field goals, which I think later in the season, especially with Travis Kelsey, I don't think he's punting or kicking on all of those. But that was just something that stood out to me was, the fact that I thought he called a really conservative game. I thought he was just trying to survive the week, and it ended up coming back to haunt him. Tough to work with Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
that's pretty.
so, first thing we're going to talk about, both of us being AFC East team fans, myself being a Dolphins fan, Deuce being a Bills fan, we figured that's the perfect place to start. We're going to go into a little bit of a deep dive of the AFC East, talking about predictions, talking about each team's strengths, weaknesses, and one X factor that we think can really make or break each team. Um, Deuce, why don't you go ahead and give your predictions for standings?
Yeah, let me pull them up real quick for you. So I don't think I showed you these actually,
No,
so you don't even
no,
know what they look
yeah, so
like.
these are blind
Yeah.
reactions.
So I have the Ravens, #1 seed, thir 13-4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I have the Bills, 12-5. Chiefs, 12-5. But I think the Bills have the tiebreaker. They beat them at home like we did last year.
Okay.
And then Jaguars, 11-6. Bengals are going to be 12-5. Because I know the way that the seeding works, it's the
Yeah.
divisions.
Yep.
So like the Bengals will have a better record than the Jags, but the way that
Yep.
it works, they'll be the
Yeah.
fifth seed. I think the Bengals will be 12-5. I did have them at 11-6, but that's because I thought Burrow wasn't going to play a
Right.
couple games.
Right.
So now that he's playing,
Right.
I got them at 12-5. I mean, I guess they could be. I wouldn't mind 13-4. They'll still be the fifth seed
Mm-hmm.
because of the
Yeah.
Ravens. I just think the Ravens are going to win the division.
Okay.
Um, Chargers 11-6, Jets 10-7, Fins 9-8, Steelers 9-8,
Okay.
Broncos 7-10. I got the Texans 7-10. I think they're
Wow.
gonna play hard.
Okay.
And obviously you gotta well, I guess the Texans are part of that issue, but I think they beat Colts and Titans twice.
Okay.
I have the Colts and Titans last. So then I have the Patriots 6-11, Browns 5-12, Raiders 5-12, Titans 4-13, and Colts 2-15. I really, really wanted to
Wow.
make the Colts 0-16 because of how bad I think they're gonna
Yeah.
be. But I was like, you're gonna play the Titans and the
Yeah.
Texans, like you'll win one of those. You'll
Yeah.
get one of those in.
Yeah. It's tough to not win a game in the National Football League.
Yeah.
Myself from first place to last in the AFC, I have division winners. Chiefs at 13-4, Bengals 12-5, Bills 12-5, Jags 11-6. Wild card teams, I have Dolphins 11-6, Jets 10-7, Ravens 10-7. First team out, I have Steelers missing at 10-7 on conference record. I've got Broncos Chargers also missing at 9-8. Browns 8-9, Patriots and Colts both 6-11. I have the Titans 5-12, Raiders 5-12, and bringing up the rear, the Texans at 13-4. So it seems like we both had AFC East specific. I think it seems like we both had Bills winning that division. Why don't we start there, Deuce? What do you think, as a Bills fan, your biggest strength on that team?
My biggest strength is definitely going to be that Sean McDermott is calling plays.
Okay.
That's like my #1 thing. I so glad that Leslie Frazier's not calling plays.
Yeah.
He had not one but two shots and came up very
Yeah,
short
0 for
of both
2.
attempts.
Yeah.
So and Sean McDermott's defensive minded, so I do think that will help. Um, that's my X factor. That's like the strengths. I think the X factor. I don't know if we're talking about that yet.
Yeah, yeah, you can go into we'll talk all about all
Okay.
Bills first.
Yeah. So then X factor, I think is Dalton Kincaid. We'll be able to have two tight end sets, be able to run the ball a little bit better. It's not going to be like completely
Yeah.
because he's not a very big pass blocking
Yeah.
or run blocking guy.
Mhm.
So it'll be a little bit better, and it'll be tough mismatching because for personnel wise on defense, you got to figure out if you want to put an extra corner out there for when he goes out in the pass, but
Yeah.
then that's going to help our run game, or if you're going to put another linebacker, which is going to make a mismatch with the pass game.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to help because there's going to be two tight ends most of the time.
Mhm.
My concern is the offensive line.
Yeah.
They did not look good
Yeah.
in these preseason games. Like,
Yeah.
not look good. I think they had like 10 false starts in 3 games.
Yeah.
And that's the first half or the
Yeah.
first quarter, however they played. 10 false starts
Mhm.
out of what? I'd really say 10 false starts out of like 10 series.
Yeah.
So, not, I'm nervous.
Yeah. For me, so I had Bills 12 and 5. I think their biggest strength is Josh Allen. I think he's a little bit of a double-edged sword sometimes, but when you have a premier quarterback in the NFL, you're never out of games. I think he can do things that no other quarterback can do. Yes, as a if I was a Bills fan, the turnovers do concern me, but just the sheer offensive output he's been able to produce for 3 years straight is always a huge strength. For weakness, I have their weapons. Now, Dalton Kincaid for me, and I'll get a little bit more into him later. He's a question mark, but outside of
True.
Stephon Diggs, I'm not a huge believer in Gabe Davis. I think that once per month he'll show up and give you a crazy game. Outside of that, maybe I'll eat my words this year, but outside of that, I think that you look at the rest of their receivers, I think they're a bunch of threes, fours, and low end fives outside of Diggs. I think that sometimes you get into spots where if Diggs isn't getting the ball, they're not really moving the ball. That's going to be an area of weakness I'm looking out for this year. And then I actually had the same X factor as you. I think Dalton Kincaid, I think if he does turn into a really good tight end, I think their offense could be special. As we've seen, first year tight ends, the tight end learning curve is pretty steep when you get into the NFL. Outside of Kyle Pitts, we haven't seen very many rookie tight ends succeed quickly. So I'm curious to see what type of impact he has as a Dolphins fan. He does remind me a little bit of Mike Gesicki, which, as Dolphins fans know, in recent years has not been very special. It's difficult to scheme him because when he's on the field, you realize that they're probably going to throw the ball. So that's one area of concern I have about him. But I did like him a lot in the draft process. I thought the Bills got a great player. So we're going to see how that plays out. Now,
Yeah, I
def-
agree.
oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Let you done. I said I agree with the skill players
Yeah.
because apparently our number three right now is Trent Sherfield.
Yeah.
Not high on that,
No.
and like like what happened in recent games that we've lost. If they double team Diggs successfully,
Hmm.
we don't. Like you're right, we don't move the ball. If
Yeah.
they double team Diggs successfully, it's really hard for Ken Dorsey. I mean, maybe that's what they worked on this offseason.
Yeah.
Really hard for Ken Dorsey to scheme him open
Yeah.
because I 100% know that when Dable was there, they were still double covering Diggs and he was still scoring.
Hmm.
So that I think is the for offensive coordinators the learning curve there
Yeah.
is that whenever Diggs was doubled, they just basically would use him as a decoy and say, all right, if they want to double him, we'll work the other side of the field.
Yeah.
Diggs obviously doesn't like that. And I think the reason that Diggs doesn't like that is because when Dable was there, he was still getting double teamed, and which he had his best season.
Yeah.
So he's probably getting double teamed the most. And he was still able to get open
Right.
and they're still able to scheme open. So I think that is what like the controversy is in the locker room is
Hmm.
that before he was already getting doubled and they were able to still scheme him open in ways.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Ken Dorsey is struggling with is trying to see him open
Yeah.
because there's two ways to do it. Obviously, more team players would probably be okay with letting
Somebody
the
else getting
defense
touches.
take two and someone else get touches. But I think the issue is that Diggs already saw that even when that happens, he's still able to get the ball. So when someone else comes in and they're like, "Oh no, just keep running and
Yeah,
let two on him," he's not going to like that because he knows that there's ways they can still get the ball.
right. Right. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how their weapons bounce back. Now, Deuce, you had the Jets at second place. Why don't we move there? I actually have the Jets at third place at 10-7, but for me, obviously, you got to talk. The defense for me was their biggest strength. I thought last year their defense was really special. Now, I will give a little caveat that Jets fans listening might not like. They did play a ton of backup quarterbacks and third string quarterbacks. I think that has a small factor in their success, but I still expect them to be very good. I think they've got great personnel. I think Quinnen Williams is really special. I think Sauce Gardner is very special, and I think Robert Saleh is a great defensive coach. An area of weakness I have targeting for them, I think their offensive line has a lot of question marks on it. I don't think they have any great offensive linemen. I think they've got some solid pieces, but I think the offensive line is going to be something that if they can't give Rodgers time, if they can't let Dalvin Cook and Brees Hall work on the running game, they're going to struggle offensively. It's going to look differently than last year, but it's going to be the same result. And then my X factor, I have Aaron Rodgers. I was not very high on Aaron Rodgers last year. I thought he was just an above average quarterback. I did not personally think the Jets are just a quarterback away, but if he returns to MVP Aaron Rodgers or even slightly below that, I think they could be a really special team this year.
Yeah, I do have similar concerns. Offensive line, I don't think they have proved that they can be successful yet. Obviously, they did do decent in the Giants Jets preseason game where they scored twice, I believe.
Yeah,
I think it was a touchdown and a field goal
yeah,
or something like that. They did get down the field. Then again, I I think the Jets went all out and the Giants didn't go all out because I think the Giants had all their backups in.
hmm,
So that's obviously hard to gauge during preseason
yeah,
since both starters weren't out. Um, the X factor, yes, Aaron Rodgers. I think he is going to absolutely force feed Garrett Wilson the ball because if you watch Hard Knocks, he can already see he's pretty frustrated with anyone not named Alan Lazard or Garrett Wilson.
yeah,
So I think that is going to be interesting to see how that works and how when they double Garrett Wilson, what they scheme. Because if their offensive line is not good, they're not going to have a very good run game. And I do think Aaron Rodgers has had a decent run game every single time he's played. And I think I don't want to say, I don't know what the word is, but I think the luxury that he had before is they didn't always need to run the ball to be good, but that's also just Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers.
yeah,
But when they did need to run the ball, they were very good at doing it.
yeah.
So we'll see now in games where they need to run the ball if
Hmm.
they can actually do it or if it's going to be all on Aaron Rodgers to just basically cook something up.
Yeah,
And I just don't think that's going to be as sustainable because he's already said like publicly he does not trust the whole receiving group.
yeah,
Like I said, behind Garrett Wilson and Lazard, I don't think there is many people that he's like, oh yeah, I can give him the ball. Like he's going to do this, he's going to do that.
yeah.
So that's the X factor. My concern is the O line. Their strength, I think their strength is. I want to say their strength is Aaron Rodgers, but in a coaching standpoint,
Yeah.
because as bad as it sounds, I think Aaron Rodgers is coaching the players as much as he's coaching the coaches, or vice versa. He's coaching the coaches as much as he's coaching the players.
Yeah.
Because he's sitting here saying, when are we going to find out this don't work? Or that play doesn't work in this formation. So I think the coaches are learning a good amount from Aaron Rodgers because those coaches are young. It's Robert Saleh. I think Nathaniel Hackett is a damn puppet. I don't think he does anything
Yeah.
but give the green light on Aaron Rodgers to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
So that's probably why he wanted him there.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that is their strength is that Aaron Rodgers is giving the coaches some game as well while they're trying to figure out how to do the season or
Yeah.
start the season.
Yeah, I think Jets similarly to the Dolphins, who we'll touch on next. I think the Jets are a team that, depending, they have a lot of factors. Depending on how each variable plays out, I could just as easily see them winning 7 or 6 games as I could winning 12 or 13 games. It's just how everything
Yeah.
meshes, how each piece fits together, and has a lot to do with how the other teams in the division are. I think that I could easily see a world in which this team, everything works and everything is clicking on all cylinders, and Rodgers is great and they win 13 games. Similarly, I could see Rodgers being not as committed at the end of his career. Their defense takes a step back and they win 7 or 8 games. So I think that'll be something interesting to watch out for.
And I think that predicates heavily on this start to the season
Yeah.
because I have it up right now. The Jets play Buffalo, Dallas, New England, Kansas City, Denver, and Philly before their bye.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
And
very difficult start to the year for sure.
yeah, so it's really I think that's going to predicate on how that is, and that's also going to predicate on how Aaron Rodgers feels
Yeah.
because if they're 3-3, 2-4, like he's not going to like that,
Yeah.
and that might rub some people the wrong way, the way that he either like, would lash out or try to rally his troops in the way
Right.
that other people might not like. But at the end of the day, that team's pretty young, so you don't really have another out. Like that's the only person you really can look up to is Aaron. So
Yeah.
it's really like his way or the highway. I feel like.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Now, moving on to South Florida's favorite, my favorite, Miami Dolphins. I have them 11 wins in the top wild card spot. Deuce, I believe you had them 9 wins, missing the playoffs. Um,
And
what
there
do you
eight
like?
spots or no?
No, there's seven
I'm
spots.
like,
Seven
oh,
spots, three division or four division winners, three wild cards. I think in the AFC you're gonna need to win 10 wins
I
to
might
even have a
flip that
chance.
then. Because I think what's going to happen with that Finns game, I could see them both going 10-7, and whoever has the tiebreaker.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, moving into their team, I think their biggest strength, I think they've got great weapons on both sides of the ball. Obviously, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle are going to get a ton of credit. I think Braxton Berrios was a great addition. I think he's going to help be sort of a man beater and just uh, work against short man coverage plays that just, hey, we need 6 yards on 3rd and 5, you can beat this guy one on one. Or when they're playing zone, I need you to sit down in this soft hole in zone and gain 7 yards. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I also, you don't hear a lot about weapons on defense, but I think Christian Wilkins is a great weapon. Xavier Howard healthy this year, I think he's going to be great. I think they've got a great safety pair. My biggest concern, though, as we're already seeing with the Week 1 injury report, is the team health. Obviously, they've had huge injuries. Jalen Ramsey's probably not coming back until November or December. Tua has missed 3 or 4 games each of the last 2 seasons. Teron Armstead hasn't played a full season in recent history, maybe not in his career. I'm actually not quite sure about that. He's already been ruled out Week 1. I think that this team will go as far as their health takes them, which is something that you never like to hear. Their X factor, obviously, Tua Tagovailoa. I think that he was very special last year when he was on the field. It's just how many games is he going to play? I think if he plays 15 or more games at the level he played at last year, they're going to be very hard to beat. But it's just whether or not he's going to get those 15 games.
Yeah, okay. Um, so what I have for concerns, I'll start with concerns, is like you said, injuries, more specifically Tua.
Yeah,
I have them at that 9-8 because I'm just saying I just think Tua is going to be out minimum 3 games. It doesn't have to be a concussion,
yeah,
just maybe something.
it's fair.
So, and did they ever win a game with the backup in? Did they win the last game, that Jets game?
Yeah, yeah. Week
Yeah.
17 against the Jets. Skylar Thompson,
Yeah,
9
so they won
assists.
that game.
Yep.
And that's why I'm gonna say my X factor would be Tyreek Hill because I think Mike White's a significant upgrade from Skylar Thompson and Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
So even if Tua does go down, I think that Mike White was able to throw the ball 5 yard slant or a goal ball to Tyreek Hill, and he still gets like solid yards even when the backups are in. It's just obviously whether if they win or not.
Yeah.
So I think that's the X factor because I think he can get you over the hump even with a backup quarterback. Maybe not long term, but like just say like maybe Tua has a little soreness or something, can't play a game. I think if they scheme it around Tyreek Hill to just
Hmm.
win one-on-one matchups and scheme him open to open field and open space,
Yeah.
that they can still like squeeze a win out. Concerns their strength. I think their strength is Mike Daniels. Mike Daniels, I think, very good play caller. And I think that just has to do with what I just said is be able to scheme his players open.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters what you do with Tyreek Hill defensively, like your plan. I still think if he really wants to, you can give him the ball and he's going for 120 and a score.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
I think Tyreek Hill is going to get 2K. I think he's going to get 2K this
Really?
year if he stays healthy.
That's a bold
And
take.
like I said, I don't think that's going to be predicated on who's the quarterback. I'm not saying Tua is going to be out a long time, but like even like I said, 2 out 3 games or something doesn't have to be in a row or at a time. I still think he'll be able to get that. For some reason, I don't know why. I have a feeling that Mike McDaniels and him are going to like aggressively try to get that
Yeah.
2K.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just have a feeling that they're going to aggressively try to get that 2K. I think that's like on the board in the locker room, like
Yeah.
Tyreek
We'll
Hill
see.
2K.
He's called it out on his stream. You heard it here first. Deuce thinks Tyreek Hill is going to be first Dolphins receiver ever to have 2,000 yards. Lastly, we both had unanimous last place New England Patriots. I believe we both had them at 6 wins. I do not see a ton of bright spots on this team. Maybe in 14 weeks I'll be wrong, but my strength, I had their defense. I still think their defense is very good. I think that Bill Belichick obviously is a very solid coach, but their weaknesses, I had their entire offense. I thought their offense last year was horrible. I don't believe Mac Jones is a great quarterback, although I'll say for the Mac Jones fans, I don't think the Patriots have done a whole lot to try and help him succeed. I think they've got very mediocre weapons at best. I don't think they have anybody on the offense that you can say is top half of the NFL at their position. Maybe that's a little harsh on Juju specifically, but I don't see a lot of hope for this offense. But I do have their X factor being Mac Jones. I think that somehow Mac Jones was a Pro Bowler his rookie year, and if he can play really well, I think this team could maybe sneak into the playoffs. But I have their ceiling at 9 wins, maybe 10 wins. I don't see them contending for the division.
Yeah, I don't see them paying for the division either. Like I said, we both had them last place. My X factor is going to be Bill O'Brien because they had Matt Patricia calling plays, which is a defensive minded coach.
Yeah,
So that was already a plan like ready to fail.
yeah,
And I feel like Bill O'Brien does pretty good. Coach Deshaun Watson, you know, if you want to go real back, like he has some Alabama connections with Nick Saban. So I think he's going to be able to, get them 18 points per game, something like that. I don't think they're going to skyrocket. I think they'll be a little bit better.
yeah.
But my concerns are, like you said, the entire offense. I don't know. You got Stevenson at the back with Zeke probably getting goal line carries.
Mhm.
But outside of that, Devontae Parker, not really high on him. Juju, that tweet or whatever that came out like a week ago about his
Yeah, I saw
knee
that.
being able to explode. That's kind of weird.
Yeah,
So concerns on that, and I just don't. Mac Jones, they don't have much confidence in. I feel like because you said that you don't think they've done much. I think that Matt Jones isn't comprehending as well,
Yeah.
is what I believe. Is I think maybe the offense is a little too complex, and maybe that is part of like maybe they're not. I don't want to say grooming, but developing him that well
Hmm.
is because maybe stuff's a little bit too complex, and we need to start a little lower. But that's how I feel. I feel like he's kind of not getting the whole picture,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so yeah, X factor. Their strength is hands down their defense.
Yeah.
Regardless, if I think the defense scored as much as the offense last year, to be honest, their their defense is good for a touchdown every other game, but and I feel like they stop teams besides obviously the East. I feel like they get hosed when they play in
Yeah.
their division, but besides that, like I feel like they hold it down most of the time. They lead or hold them to 17, and they can't score 15. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
I think the Patriots are the only team that cannot win the division. Maybe in middle of January, I'll be incorrect, but I feel pretty good saying that they're probably going to be third or fourth in the division. That wraps up the AFC talks. Deuce, why don't quickly, I'll go through, give you my NFC predictions. I've got 49ers first place, 14-3. Eagles also winning division at 13-4. Lions, who we saw week one, winning the division at 11-6. Then I have the Saints winning that horrible division 9-8. Wild card teams: Cowboys 11-6, Vikings 9-8, Seahawks 9-8. I actually have the Giants first team out of the playoffs at 9-8, missing on division record. Packers I've got 8-9, Panthers and Falcons 7-10, Commanders and Bears 6-11, Buccaneers 5-12, Rams 5-12, and Cardinals 3-14. What do you think about those, Deuce?
Give me 5 seconds.
Yeah, I think Niners. I think they're going to be really solid this year. I think that the fact that they play in a weaker NFC is going to help, but I think that they're actually, and we'll touch on it briefly later. Niners are actually my Super Bowl team coming out of the NFC.
Yeah, so mine is I got the Eagles at 16-1 actually.
Wow,
I I to be
16,
honest,
16 wins.
I don't see them losing, but I just don't think they're gonna have a 17-0
Yeah,
season. I just I don't know. I gotta maybe look back at some of the teams that they lost to and how they lost, but recent memory, the way that they played versus the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, like I just don't know who's beating that.
yeah,
If they obviously there could be some low games or some low weeks. But yeah, I got them at 16-1. I got the 49ers at 15-2. Obviously barring QB health, because that's their literal killer
yeah.
of why they don't have more Super Bowls. Then I have the Lions at 11-6. Those are my division. Oh no, Saints too at 7-10. Those are my division winners.
Seven
Then I got the
win
Cow.
Saints winning the division.
Oh, 10-7. Did I say
Oh,
seven
okay.
and
Yeah,
10?
yeah, yeah.
10-7. Yeah, 10-7. My bad. Um, I have the Cowboys at 12-5. I have the Seahawks at 11-6. Vikings at 10-7. Packers 10-7. I got Bears 9-8. Yeah, I'm a high Bears
Yeah,
fan.
Deuce, for those who don't know, Deuce is a big Justin Fields believer.
Yeah, I'm a big Justin Fields believer. They gotta get the right people in his ear. I got the Panthers at 8-9. I only think about that because I think besides the Saints, I think they can beat the Bucks and the Falcons
Yeah.
twice. So that's almost halfway there.
Hmm.
Um, Not a big believer in the Giants.
Yep.
7-10 Giants. I think based on where they were seated, I mean, I guess they were still third place last year, but I don't know. I don't think the defense is as good. Obviously, their D line is very, very, very good.
Yeah.
But besides that, I'm not a high believer in the secondary. Uh, they did get a free agent signing from the Jaguars. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'm not going to try. I think it's a fungu. I
Mhm.
probably butchered that,
Yeah.
but he's solid. He was, I think, he either led the league in tackles last year or was top three. So
Mhm.
that's a pretty good signing. But I don't know. I don't believe in Daniel Jones either. Like,
Yeah.
I think he just got bailed out a good amount of times from Saquon. Not to say that he can't get bailed out again, but I just don't think that's as likely to happen. I
That's
think
fair.
they're going to force Daniel Jones to throw that rock.
Yeah.
And I'm just not. And I got Falcons 7-10. I don't know about Desmond, but they do move the ball.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. Even though they had all those bad or didn't win every single game, they moved the ball pretty damn well.
Mhm.
Most of the games are pretty high scoring. I think Bijan's going to be electric, absolutely electric. Rams 5-11 or 5-12, excuse me. I saw something that said that they only have three players on their team, which is Matt Stafford, Aaron Donald, and Cooper Cup. And after that, it's a bunch of freaking
Yeah.
JV players or
Yeah.
practice
Cooper
squad
Cup
players.
actually today just got put on IR as well. So he'll be
Also, he's
missing the
four.
first, yeah, he'll be missing at least the first 4 games of the year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I love Sean McVay and the way that he coaches and the way he schemes up stuff, but
Hmm.
at the same time, you can't do much with nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I have Bucks 14-3. I
With 3-14.
Baker May. Oh yeah, Jesus. Uh oh, 4-14,
No, yeah, 3-14 is right.
4-13. Jesus, man, that's what I got.
Yeah.
4-13. Okay. So yeah, that's simple. Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
I do think for some reason, and when we were drafting, I just thought of Chris Godwin and Mike Williams, or not Mike Williams, Mike Evans. They're getting 1,000 yards a pop with Jameis Winston at
Yeah.
quarterback. So fantasy wise, I was
They're
thinking,
still
well, why
solid.
can't one of these guys? Yeah, I said, why can't one of these guys still get 1,000 yards? And obviously the Michael Evans, Mike Evans, he's always had 1,000 yard season, so that's
Yeah.
also a hard thing to go off. And then I got Commanders 4-13 as well. Just the division's tough.
Yeah.
Not much you can do.
Yeah.
They have a he's not a rookie quarterback, but it's gonna be his first year. And then I got the Cardinals 0-16. They're tanking, bro.
Yeah.
I don't think you can look me in the face
You
and
think they're
say
winning?
that
You don't think they're
Josh
winning a
Dobbs
single
is gonna
game out
win
of
you.
17?
I don't think anyone can look me in the face and say that Josh Dobbs is winning me a football game.
Jeez. Well then, I'll go. I'll give you one team I think in the NFL is on contender watch that I have out of the playoffs and potentially chance to make a run, and I think that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that their defense is very good. I don't I don't know what's going to happen. I have them at 10-7, missing the playoffs. I think I could see a world in which Pickett and the offense takes a step forward and they could be really good fighting for, the top of the division. If that doesn't happen, though, I think they'll be right around the same as last year. And then one team I've got on pretender watch in the NFL is the Minnesota Vikings. I think that they're going to be significantly worse than last year. Last year, they won a bunch of one score, high variance games that just,
I think it was nine,
yeah,
9 game winning
yeah,
drives.
it is hard for me to it's hard for me to think that all of that is going to happen again. I think that I don't think they got any better, and I think that it's just using statistical variance is hard to win all of those games again. I've got them at 9-8 squeaking into the playoffs. I think that's as high as they'll go.
Yeah. So for you said dark horses or like
Yeah,
contenders.
one contender you think, one dark horse contender you think.
For AFC, I'm gonna say I guess the Chargers made it last year. I do think the Chargers are gonna be they won 10 games last year, so I don't want to say significantly better, but they're gonna be 11-6. That's one away from division title versus the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Only reason I think that is I'll have Kellen Moore calling the offense and not freaking. I don't know who the actual offensive coordinator was, but I know Brian Staley had some sort of command in that offense,
Yeah.
and he was literally just playing Madden out there, going forward on 4th and 10s, 4th and 12s
Yeah.
in his own territory. So I think that's going to help a lot. I think they're going to score a lot of points. Their defense is solid. I don't recall because Brian Staley's supposed to be defensive coordinator.
Yeah. Brandon
So,
Staley.
but
He's.
Brand Staley supposed to be a defensive coordinator. But it did seem he had a lot of pull on
Mhm.
what the offense was running. But yeah, their defense is solid. Um, I would say the runner up would be the Steelers. I don't think they're going to have a losing record. Like I said, if they win two more games or even one more game, depending on if they beat the Jets or not, because I believe they play the Jets, then yeah, they'll definitely sneak in for that 7th spot.
Mhm.
I think my issue is I know Kenny Pickett has scored every single time he's touched the field in the preseason. I just don't think I think it was overhyped,
Yeah.
and I want to see with real defense with everyone out there playing hard how he's going to react. I don't think it's going to be bad,
That's fair.
but everyone's at least Steeler fans are swinging for the fences right now because they haven't seen Kenny Pickett not score yet in the 2023 season.
Yeah. Who?
My pretender,
Yeah. Who do you got for pretender?
I might have to switch, and I think my pretender is the freaking Jets. Because, like I said, now that I'm thinking about it, I
Okay.
might switch them down and put them at 9.
Okay.
Maybe I have all three of them at 9 and 8, and then just have the Dolphins up, and then Steelers, and then Jets at the bottom because they lost to both.
Okay.
I just don't because I forgot I read out that first 6 games, and
Yeah.
obviously if they do good in that, say they come out 4-2 somehow, that's
Yeah.
gonna look real good. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Okay.
I don't. It's just really hard to get everything, like you said, everything working and operating at a
Yeah.
high level first year around. It's
Yeah.
really hard to do that
Right.
when a lot of people are trying to learn.
Right.
And I think that's what happens with even Kenny Pickett said it last year. I was trying to learn on the fly. Now it's I already know everything and I'm just running it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's going to happen. So yeah, I might now that I keep talking, I might throw the Jets down at 9 speed, just
Okay.
not making it.
Okay.
NFC, my pretenders are the Giants.
Yeah.
I don't think they're making the playoffs. I don't believe in any dimes. Uh, it's all Saquon, and I know they got Waller, and I think Waller will help a little bit.
Yeah.
I just don't think Daniel's that good.
Yeah.
So you can have all the weapons you want. I just don't think
Okay.
Daniel Jones is that good. Got overpaid, and yeah, I'm not real high on that.
Okay.
My my dark horse is gonna have to be. I want to say the Bears, but I'm at the 9 seed, so I can't say the Bears. I'll say the Seahawks. I know the Seahawks made the playoffs last year,
Mhm.
but I think the Seahawks are gonna be really good.
Okay.
And I think because they the way that they won football was 10 years ago almost, Legion of Boom,
Yeah.
8 years ago,
Yeah.
is they had a really good defense and they had a all right offense that could get them through and capitalize on all the turnovers the defense was getting.
Yeah.
I think the defense is going to be really, really, really good in
Mhm.
Seattle. I almost picked them in fantasy because that's how good I think they're going to be,
Yeah.
but I want to see it first.
Okay.
They have Witherspoon, the rookie. He
Yeah.
is insane. I actually got to watch him train in person because he
Mhm.
came to Exos here.
Yeah.
I think he is an insane talent. He's going to be really good.
Right.
I think he's going to be like kind of like a sauce,
Okay.
like right out the gate. He's just going to be locking people up.
Okay.
And the only thing different with him is he tackles.
Yeah.
If you watch film, Sauce is not like to tackle nobody, but
Yeah.
Witherspoon loves to hit someone.
Yeah.
So I think Witherspoon with Whirling in his second, or Woodland
Yeah.
in his second year, Tariq, they got Diggs coming back. They got Jamal Adams coming back. Their linebacking core, Jordan Brooks, he's very good. I think he's underrated in the league.
Mhm.
Very, very good. They got Bobby Wagner back. And I think the final piece is they drafted and signed some defensive line now. It's
Right.
not a great group, but I think it's a very substantial group.
Okay.
Probably I'd say a sneaky top 10 D line. And their offense is good. They have Kenneth Walker. Jigba they signed or they didn't sign, they
Yeah.
drafted him. They still got the two receivers, DK and Lockett, and Gino at the helm. So I truly think they're going to be very good. I don't think they're going to be better than the Niners, so they're going to have to be a 5 or 6 seed. But
Wild card. Yeah.
I think they're going to be very good.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Quickly, wrapping things up, I'm gonna go ahead and give my season predictions. We're gonna go MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, and Rookie of the Year on both sides of the ball, and then Super Bowl matchup. I've got Mahomes winning MVP. I think he is head and shoulders better, and it's a quarterback award, whether it's right or wrong. The MVP is a quarterback award. I think he's head and shoulders better than every other quarterback in the NFL. I've got Tyreek Hill, Offensive Player of the Year. Obviously, as you said, Deuce predicting him 2,000 yards. That is quite the feat. I've got TJ Watt, Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's beyond a difference maker. He broke the sack record 2 years ago when he was healthy. It's just whether or not he can stay healthy this year. Doug Peterson, Coach of the Year. If the Jags win double digit games, win the division, going from turning around that franchise, I think it's hard for him not to win it. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I've got Bijan Robinson. I think he's going to be incredible this year. Defensive Rookie of the Year, you touched on him a little bit. I've got Devin Witherspoon. I think I still believe personally the Seahawks should have taken a quarterback at that pick. I don't think they're going to have a chance to pick number 5 overall. I think they were again with how their team is, but I think he's a great player. I think he's going to fit in really well there. And the Super Bowl, I've got Chiefs over 49ers. I've got 27-20 final score. I think Chiefs, even with them not looking good last week, I've got them winning over the Niners going back to back.
Solid. I do have some similar ones. I got some similar picks for that you. My MVP, and if you were listening earlier, I got them as being the 1 seed in the AFC. I got Lamar Jackson. If he stays healthy,
Yeah.
obviously he's missed what 4 games the last 3 years or
Games the
something
last
like
two
that.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. So that's who I have, and I just think because he's still going to have the running,
Yep.
and I think Zach's going to be able to pass the ball. I think he's going to have what I think he's going to have. I don't want to say 4,000 because that means he's not running it,
Yeah.
but obviously an MVP year, I say he has 4,000 passing yards and
1,000 rushing yards.
1,000 rushing. Yeah, I was about to say 1,000 rushing
Okay.
yards, and obviously being like the 1 seed. I have. I don't know if we talked about it, but my X factor is Todd Monken from Georgia,
Mm,
offensive coordinator.
yeah.
I think based on how he operated in Georgia, and obviously in Georgia you have the best of the best in
Yeah.
your your league or whatever. But I really feel like Todd Monken's going to air that ball out.
Hmm.
I truly do. You got a very very ramped up receiving core from last year. OBJ, Zay Flowers, and Bateman wasn't even bad last year. But now that instead of him trying to be forced into a number 1 role, it's going to be a number 3, and that's probably where he belongs and will be able to excel in as like a mismatch player. But yeah, I have Lamar Jackson for my offensive player of the year. Tyreek Hill. I said 2K yards. It's
Okay.
gonna have to be
That's a
Tyreek
huge.
Hill.
Yeah, that's a huge year.
And then for defensive player of the year, I have Micah Parsons.
Hmm.
I want to say I wrote this down before the game. I wanted to say Chris Jones as the runner-up, just so in the fact if he say sat out 6 games and they were really bad,
Yeah, and then he
just on
came
the
back.
offensive line, not losing games, but like
Yeah.
really bad in the interior, and then he came
Right.
back and all of a sudden everything's all fixed. That was going to be a like a glimpse or something
Hmm.
that I think could happen as like a dark horse defensive player of the year. But yeah, I got Micah Parsons. I think he's actually very upset he didn't get it last year.
Yeah.
Like kind of butthurt. So I think he's really gonna
Yeah.
I think he's really going to go on a tear.
Yeah.
Bijan Robinson as offensive rookie of the year, got runner up. Bryce Young, if everything pans out.
Yeah.
My defensive rookie of the year, like I said, I was talking very high on Witherspoon. I was surprised you took him,
Yeah.
and I have Will Anderson though, because I feel like for the
Yeah.
position, he's going to be able to show how much better he is than Witherspoon. Because I know Sauce won it last year, but I feel like it's really hard to win an award at the cornerback position because if you don't have any picks, but you're locking up, I think it's really hard for people to see that and vote that. But with Will Anderson, you're going to see him throwing tackles all over the field.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be Will Anderson and Robert. What's the or not D'Amico Ryan's?
Yeah.
I
D'Amico
think
Ryan's
he's
a good
going to
coach there.
be a great coach for him to be able to really excel and develop him.
Yeah.
My coach of the year, Dan Campbell. I wrote that down before
Okay.
the game happened. Like I
Okay.
said, I think they're going to go 11-6. A lot of people are drinking the Lions Kool Aid,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I
They're
think it's like
popular.
their year to be like the most improved or any award, right? So I think it's going to be Dan Campbell for Coach of the Year.
Okay.
And I didn't write this on Super Bowl, but I can just do it off the top of my head. I think the Super Bowl, I it's really hard to say the 49ers wouldn't go if everyone was healthy because
Yeah.
you saw in the first quarter of that game before Purdy got hurt that they were holding their own pretty well against the Eagles. I just I think that Jalen Hurts took another step,
Yeah.
if that's even possible. So it's hard to go back to back though.
Hmm.
It's real
Yeah. I
hard.
got the Chiefs winning back to back, not only going back to back.
I guess I'm gonna drink the Kool-Aid. I'll say the 49ers go. Actually, no, because everyone's saying the 49ers go. Eagles go back to back. They're 16-1. I think that I don't want to be biased, man. I really don't. I don't want to be biased and say that my Bills make it,
Just do it.
but
Just get it over. Rip the
I
Band-Aid.
know. I'll just rip the Band-Aid off
Rip the
because
Band-Aid off.
in a sense, this is quote unquote like the last year. Because we were able to stop the bleeding and keep everyone together this year by what, $2 million in cap space.
Yeah.
Next year it is someone's
It's
gonna have to
difficult.
go.
Yeah.
It's someone's going to have to go. So I think this is their last window. So
Okay.
we'll just go Bills Eagles, man.
Who do you got winning?
As much as I hate it,
Say the
Bills
word.
Eagles.
Say the word.
I got Bills winning
Yep.
31-28.
Okay. There you go. Bills end their career-long Super Bowl drought, according to Deuce
I
this
want to
season.
say the Cowboys, but I can't see the Cowboys actually going all the way.
Yeah.
I think they're too much of a dysfunctional organization. That even if they do, because they do have all the weapons, but I don't think they would. I don't think they'd be able to grasp that.
Yeah.
Bills Eagles, man,
Yeah.
that's a tough game for me to watch.
Yeah. It is. It is. I think that does it. I think that wraps up our inaugural episode of the Helmet to Helmet podcast. Thanks for listening. We're hoping to do at least one, maybe two episodes per week. We're going to be covering all things football the entire season. Keep an eye out for us on social media and wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. But yeah, thanks for living or thanks for listening. Hit that subscribe button, be down in the comments. Let us know what you thought. Give us a rating. We'll definitely take a look and see what we can be better at. So thanks for listening from Stokes and Deuce. That was Helmet to Helmet.